Lieutenant Commander Ava Reynolds stood near the rear wall of the Coalition Naval Academy lecture hall, arms folded, eyes locked on the rotating hologram above the podium. The massive warship glowed blue-white in the air, sleek, elegant, terrifying. Around her, cadets from a dozen species watched with reverent attention. Professor Kethrix, a decorated strategist from the Valkyran fleet, paced confidently beneath the display. "As you can see," he said, gesturing with multiple jointed limbs, "this vessel represents the apex of Coalition naval doctrine. Triple-layer shields. Reinforced weapon cores. Command sections armored to withstand sustained bombardment." The cadets murmured approval. Ava didn't. She tilted her head slightly, eyes narrowing as the hologram slowly rotated. Something felt wrong. Not flawed, incomplete. For over 3,000 cycles, Kethrix continued, this design philosophy has ensured battlefield superiority. We protect what matters most. Ava's fingers tightened around her datapad. She raised her hand. The room froze. Professor Kethrix paused mid-sentence, all eyes turning toward the lone human officer. Humans were new to the academy, respected, but watched carefully. Ava Reynolds had already earned a reputation for asking questions no one liked answering. "Yes, Lieutenant Commander Reynolds," Kethrix said, his tone polite but wary. Ava stepped forward and connected her datapad to the holoprojector. A red outline flashed across the ship's midsection. "Sir," she said calmly, "why is this section barely armored?" The hall went silent. "That area," Kethrix replied, irritation seeping into his voice, "contains crew quarters, life support routing, and non-essential facilities." "Non-essential," Ava repeated. "Correct," he said. "Combat doctrine prioritizes weapons, engines, and command. Comfort spaces are expendable." A ripple of agreement passed through the room. Ava exhaled slowly. "With respect, sir," she said, "those aren't comfort spaces." She tapped the display again. "That's where your engineers sleep. Where damage control teams assemble. Where backup operators wait when systems fail." Several cadets shifted uneasily. "You can armor reactors all you want," Ava continued, "but when everything goes wrong, and it always does, those people are the ones who keep the ship alive." Kethrix's scales darkened slightly. "Human," he said, "you misunderstand resource allocation." Ava met his gaze. "No, sir. I understand it perfectly." She paused. "And that's why you're allocating it wrong." Ava gestured, and a second hologram appeared beside the alien warship, primitive, boxy, and unmistakably human. A propeller-driven bomber. "This," she said, "is an Earth aircraft from one of our early global wars." The contrast was almost embarrassing. "Our analysts noticed something strange," Ava continued. "Planes returning from combat were riddled with damage, wings, tails, fuselage. Red dots appeared across the aircraft. So the logical conclusion," she said, "was to reinforce those areas." Several cadets nodded. It made sense. It was wrong. The room stiffened. "A mathematician named Abraham Wald realized something critical," Ava said. "Those bullet holes showed where planes could be hit and still make it home." She highlighted the untouched areas: engines, cockpit, fuel tanks. "The planes hit there never returned. We were studying survivors, not casualties." She turned back to the alien warship. "You're doing the same thing." Professor Kethrix leaned closer to the hologram now, curiosity replacing irritation. "You're reinforcing what survives," Ava said, "not what fails." She zoomed into the ship's interior. "When crew quarters are breached, your repair teams die before they reach the damage. When life support trunks are severed, your engineers suffocate before rerouting power." Her voice remained steady, but the weight of experience hung heavy behind every word. "A ship with perfect armor but no crew," she said quietly, "is just a floating coffin." A cadet raised a claw. But Human Reynolds, they asked, doesn't this reduce protection for weapons and engines? Ava nodded. Marginally. Then she smiled. But a ship with living crew can retreat. Repair. Return to the fight. She pulled up modern human ship designs. We don't have your shields, she said. So we protect people instead. Armored corridors. Isolated life support zones. Damage control hubs that function even after catastrophic hits. Ketherick straightened slowly. You're suggesting, he said carefully, that crew survivability is combat effectiveness. Ava met his eyes. No, Professor. She tapped her chest. I'm saying it always has been. The lecture hall remained silent. Not awkward silence. Thinking silence. Professor Ketherick stared at the hologram as if seeing it for the first time. Colors rippled across his scales, emotions Ava's cultural briefings didn't fully cover. You claim, he said slowly, that humans learned this through war. Ava's expression softened. We learned it through loss. She brought up a historical image, smoke-filled decks, wounded sailors hauling equipment through burning corridors. One of our ships took damage that should have destroyed it, she said. It stayed operational because the crew could still reach critical systems. Because life support held long enough. Because people survived. She looked around the room. We didn't win because our ships were better. She paused. We won because our people refused to die quietly. Ketherick turned to face the class. Class dismissed, he said. A collective exhale rippled through the room as cadets filed out, whispering urgently. As the doors closed, Ketherick faced Ava alone. Your species fought itself for millennia, he said. We wondered what lesson such violence would produce. Ava thought of memorial walls. Names etched into stone. Empty chairs at family tables. We learned, she said softly, that people are irreplaceable. She gestured toward the hologram. Everything else is just metal and math. Ketherick bowed his head slightly. The Coalition Naval Design Bureau, he said, will want to hear this. Outside the viewport, warships floated against the stars, beautiful, deadly, and suddenly, vulnerable. But not for long. Within weeks, Coalition shipyards went silent. Designs were rewritten. Compartments moved. Armor redistributed. Crew corridors thickened with plating. Life support systems fractured into independent cells. Medical bays doubled as command nodes. Alien engineers grumbled. Then simulations ran. Ships that once failed catastrophically now limped home. Ships once written off as lost returned damaged, but alive. And crews survived. Lieutenant Commander Ava Reynolds watched the first refitted cruiser depart dock, its hull gleaming under new armor placements. Professor Ketherick stood beside her. You changed our doctrine, he said. Ava shook her head. No, she replied. You just remembered who fights wars. He studied her. Humans are dangerous, he said thoughtfully. Ava smiled faintly. Only when we have to be. The ship slipped into hyperspace, carrying not just weapons and shields, but people worth protecting. And across the Coalition, one truth quietly rewrote centuries of strategy. Wars aren't won by ships. They're won by the people who survive long enough to finish them.